So today I want to do a little reflection on something. I want to talk about something that a little bit of insight, a little inside view of sourcing teas, and specifically sourcing teas the way I generally source tea, which is one tea at a time. So let's go back a little bit. Let's talk a little about when I first came to China. When I first came to China, I was going all over the place. I was living in Huangshan, and Huangshan is actually a very convenient place travel-wise, because it is so close to Shanghai, Suzhou, and Hangzhou. It's on a lot of high-speed rail lines, because a lot of them, they'll come out of Hangzhou, come out of Shanghai, come out of Suzhou, and then they'll kind of pass through Huangshan and then split off and go in various directions. So actually living in Huangshan was quite convenient for traveling, and I was traveling everywhere. I was going to Fuding, I was going to Anxi, I was going to Guangdong, I was going to Hefei, I was going, just every month I think I would take somewhere completely different. And I did this for a while. I did this for not quite a year, but let's say about a year. I'd say about a year. And I remember it was when I had gone to Anxi, and Anxi was a big goal for me. Finding good Tie Kuan Yin was a big goal. And I had gone to Anxi for the fourth or fifth time, and came back with just nothing. And Anxi is a trip. It is a fucking trip. It is a day of traveling. It is the train to a bus, stuff like that. A train to Quanzhou to Anxi, and then Anxi to whatever particular village I was going to. Jiandou, Longjuan, Gande. And so it's a day of traveling, and then maybe only a day or two in Anxi, or a few days in Anxi, and then a day of traveling back, and I just came back empty-handed. I just wasn't finding anything that I liked. And then around this time, I remember sitting in a shop, and in Huangshan, just a random shop, not even particularly anything fancy, but a random shop. And I was talking to this woman who I remember spoke some English, so that helped at the time. And I remember just talking to her, and she just had this level of insight that she wasn't particularly knowledgeable for Huangshan, for Huangshan tea people, but just growing up in Huangshan and just drinking Mao Feng and just being in the business and tasting a bunch, she just had this natural level of understanding that somebody outside of Huangshan wouldn't have. And so this kind of was like, you know what, I should actually dive into wherever I'm living. And this is when I decided to, wherever I'm living, just focus on that tea and just get a deep understanding of that tea. Instead of this month in Anxi, this month in Fuding, this month in Hefei, little bit, just pick one and dive in. Also around the time I got pumpkins, so it helped a lot with travel. I didn't have to travel so much. And that's what's been. And there are some areas it's not exactly that. Obviously, living in Huangshan, I still went to Wuishan a lot, because Wuishan is very accessible from Huangshan. It's like an hour away, and I love Wuishan. And I did kind of do a little bit of white tea, but so there was a little bit of if, ands, and buts, except for this, exceptions. But that was generally it. And this is the way I've done it since. When I lived in the Wuishan area, I was really focusing on Wuishans. Now that I'm in Fuding, I'm really thinking a lot about white teas. And this is great. This is great because it really helps you dive in deep. But it also can be it does have some challenges to it, or some things you don't really expect. And one of the things is you are drinking the same tea over and over and over again. over and over and over again. And this is especially tricky when you are just hitting the market, you're just entered, you just started looking, and you don't know the good producers yet. And you're kind of just, you're trying this guy and that guy, and they don't really know you. You don't have the guanxi, you don't have the connections, so you haven't really hit the good teas yet. You don't know how to get to the good teas. And then it's especially tricky when you are working with softer teas, Huangshan Maofang and white teas were two. This is particularly tricky, but I had a similar trouble with Qimins, but Qimins are a little different. Actually, no, Qimins too. Qimins had the same thing, where what ends up happening is you are just drinking the same tea over and over and over again, because you walk into a shop and they're going to give you the average tea, nothing special, not the uniqueness. And so you end up drinking a lot of the market average. And this is good, this is very helpful, because you just have this good understanding of what the market average is. This is tricky though, because it gets super repetitive. Yeah, and this was a big problem with Qimins, actually, where it took me a little longer to get into Qimins than I wanted, because I kept getting these Qimins from these different producers, and they all basically tasted the same. It was just the same tea over and over and over again. It was just that basic Qimin red tea profile. Not particularly bad, but also not good. And I'm getting it a little bit here in Fuding. I am getting it a little bit here in Fuding, where I'm kind of drinking the same silver needles over and over and over again. I say Fuding, but we all know I'm not quite in Fuding. I'm using Fuding to refer to the general white tea area. And so okay, the question is, how do you get past this? What do you do? And what I have found, and what I have started doing, is I've started looking for something. I've started picking a focus within the focus, and I started doing this in Wuishan. Now Wuishan was a little bit easier for this. Didn't really have this much of a problem, because Wuishan had a lot more cultivars and different roast levels. So you weren't tasting the same tea every time, but this almost had the opposite problem of you were just tasting all these different teas. And you walked into a tea shop and they said, what do you want? You walk into a tea shop in Wuishan and they say, what do you want? In a Huangshan and Fuding, you walk into a tea shop and they start pouring a Maofeng, or they start pouring a Baimudan here in Fuding, because that's generally, the selection is much smaller. But in Wuishan, it was just, you walked in and they're like, what do you want? And I'm like, I don't even know where to begin. And so this is in Wuishan when I started I was like, okay, let me look for high roasted teas. And that's what I was doing. And so I started in Wuishan, started looking for high roasted teas. And that just gave me a focus. That gave me a way to navigate the market. Let me look for this. And so it wasn't so here in white tea though. So now I moved to the white tea area, and I need to find a similar thing. Because when I first came here, I started asking for new silver needles. I said, do you have this year's silver needles? And they were like, yeah. And so, but then I had that same problem. I'm just tasting the same silver needles over and over and over again. Not bad, but not particularly good. And so I said, okay, I need to find something new. And so I started looking I started asking for baked, and charcoal baked. That was something I started asking for, and that gave me, once again, a little bit more of a direction of, okay, here's what you can kind of look for. But first of all, a lot of people don't have charcoal baked, and honestly, I think, and I had this conversation on the Discord yesterday. We were talking about charcoal versus electric or gas was on the Discord. And generally, I'm simplifying here, charcoal is better. It's better in almost every tea. The use of charcoal for baking, for roasting. It's kind of just understood. It's better flavor-wise. But, without getting too much into this in this video, it's much, much harder to do. You need more people, it's a lot harder to control. At a certain point, basically impossible to control. The benefit of using gas and electric is you have a meter, you turn that meter to a certain point, and you just leave it there, and that temperature is just going to stay there by itself. Huge benefit. Huge, huge benefit. So yeah. So I'm starting to look for charcoal. And so white tea is unique that I think so far it's really the only one where, and I've realized this as I'm tasting, and once again, I'm realizing this by like all these silver needles, I've tasted them, and I'm beginning to realize that electrically baked silver needle has benefits that charcoal doesn't have. I think it's a little bit fresher, it's a little bit lighter, it's a little more aromatic. Apparently, according to one maker, electronically baked white teas are going to age faster, age more. You know, he said while charcoal baked are going to stay the same for 2 or 3 years, electronically baked are going to have 2 or 3 different teas over 2 or 3 years. Now, I think charcoal baked, I think has a little more mouthfeel. It is a little more full, a little more hearty. But I think white tea, interestingly enough, in my first interactions with it, I think white tea is a tea where the electronic baked and the charcoal baked are both good, but provide different things. Electronically baked mouthfeel is don't even bother. Yeah. So here I am in the white tea region, and I just need something, and I'm looking for something to help me search, to help me, give me a target, give me a focus. Now, white teas are cool because you can do new and aged, and you can do cakes, and you can do banyodans and shomais, and you ask for all this weird stuff, wild as we know, if we talked about, that's not a thing you really want to, that's not going to be a good thing to look for. Because the other tricky thing about white tea as compared to yensha, the other tricky thing that even if you find what you're looking for, okay, I went in Wuishan, I went into a shop and I was like, do you have something high roast? And they said, yes, we do. The other day I went to a shop in Fuding here, Zhejiang here, and I said, do you have anything charcoal baked? They said, yes, we do. That doesn't mean it's good. And that's always a little awkward. To ask for something, for them to have it, and for you to say, even though you have what I asked for, I still don't want it. So that's a little bit weird. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at sourcing white tea wise. You know, I've hit this market, and I'm beginning to find my way. I'm beginning to know what to ask for. I'm beginning to understand white tea flavors a little bit, because a big thing that's very helpful when you're searching through these markets is to judge on smell and appearance. Probably in a few weeks, I will, once I get a little more settled, I gotta get settled in Zhejiang a little bit, and then once I get a little more settled, I'll start venturing out. And I think that's really where I'm going to start offering teas on the website. It's going to be a little slow in the beginning, but then once the white teas start coming, they're really going to start coming. Alright. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.